Okay, we're gonna make some sourdough bread. Okay, that's great. All right, so we got a scale there, we got some chopsticks, and we're gonna take the chopsticks away and turn on the scale. And it takes a second to, and these are chopsticks, just any old chopsticks. But this is the magic ingredient. You need sourdough starter. If you do not have this and it's not quality stuff, give up now. But if you do, you can get it from a friend or from the local bakery. And here's some salt, just any fat, non-fancy iodized salt. We all know that Morton stuff. And then of course you need flour. And this is the King Arthur Baking Company, 12.7%. That's key. You need protein to build gluten, and that's what makes bread. And these wonderful silicone spatulas. And get one of these things. You know why? Because they have covers on them. They have measuring amounts. And see that cover? It's nice, friendly green color. And we put it on the scale and we tare it. That means press the 0 button and it goes away. So now we're going to add about 100 grams of our starter. And it's funny, you can smell it, you can look at it, and get a sense of if the starter is going to bother making any good bread. And in this case, I did my usual 50 grams. I pull it out of the fridge, 50 grams of starter, 100 grams of water, 100 grams of flour. I let that sit for like 4 to 6 hours. If it hasn't quite gotten bubbly enough or whatever, I do it again. And by that time, the yeast have been fed. And that's really what it is. It's your yeast culture. So now we're going to add 11 grams of salt. So remember, 100 grams approximately of starter, 11 grams of salt. If you're just making bread, don't worry about getting too uptight about it. I mean, basically now we're going to add 375 grams of water. You have to use distilled water or some kind of filtered water. I use a reverse osmosis filtered water, which I highly advise. And look, I'm not perfect. See, 372. I don't care. All right, tare it again. We're gonna add the 500 grams of flour. This is the fun part because it gets all over the place. So if you are a kid and you're trying to do this, you're going to make a mess if you're not careful. And I love how the camera focuses on my sleeve, because that's what I want the camera to do. I love that. All right, so let's see here. So we add the 500 grams of the flour, and it is adding, and you can't see it because my arm is blocking it. There. Well, look at that. I got it right on the nose. How did I do that? And now I'm going to take the chopstick and stir it up. And when you're first stirring is probably the most important part, because when you're first stirring is when the flour is just going to go all over the place. So just take your time. This is a whole point of this thing. It's making bread, but really this is a mindfulness exercise. You'll find. Okay, so I'm stirring it. I'm not getting crazy. I mean, you can go, I want to stir that. You're getting away from the whole point. I mean, first and foremost, you took the time to get the ingredients, set up your station, all this stuff. Okay, it's auto-focusing on the back of my hand again because that doesn't know any better. But yeah, there. Okay, so it's stirring up, and I'm trying to get the edges, try to mix it all in there. And basically all we're doing, it's not that sophisticated, but we just want the dry ingredients and the wet ingredients to combine. Okay, if you can make all the wetness in there, basically mix with some of the dry, that's good. Now salt, it is a inhibitor of the like mixing yeasty fermenting, I don't even know what you call it, but the salt does block that, but not 11 grams. I mean, it's not that significant. And I've put, some people do this float test where they add the starter to make sure it's right. I don't have time for this. So basically you just add it all together, and the real secret is really the starter. If you can get your hands on a decent starter, you should be good to go. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to do my first. I wet my hand there. You can see the back of my hand is a little wet, and I'm grabbing from the edges and putting it right in the center and just going around. So whatever we did for that first shaggy mix, and let it sit for about 30 minutes. Again, about 30 minutes. If you want to rush this, you can do it in a hurry. And I don't think it really makes that much of a difference. I actually think in the end, because I've done a couple of things where I make this, the first loaf I ever made was actually on Thanksgiving. And one time I made it and it was sitting around for a couple hours. And then it didn't quite come together and it was like not good. But after the shaggy mix, and then we waited another 30 minutes, I'm going to do another set of folds. And that's what we're doing here. This is number 2. See, that's why I put 2 fingers there. So I'm grabbing the edge and I'm putting it in the middle, And then we're grabbing the edge and putting it, again, we're not getting that deep. I mean, as long as you basically mix this together. Okay, remember the key step is starter. If you have crap starter, you're gonna make crap bread, okay? I don't care who tells you what, all these other things, you're just wasting your time because you're just mixing flour and water. The number 2 thing is probably you want some good distilled water, or reverse osmosis filtered, or get that stupid 6-pack at Costco. Whatever you got, but without that clean water, that's really going to be one of the magical things, because you can kill things if there's too many things in your water. I don't know what you have in your water, so if you use tap water, I guess it'll work. It doesn't work for me. I don't know if there's something wrong with my tap water. Okay, and now we're at, I think this is fold number 3. You can see the the dough already starting to get that wonderful glistening. And I do, between each of these steps, I do generally wash my hand, only my right hand, because that's the part that's touching with the dough. You see people trying to mix with a spatula. I mean, I don't want to have to clean up extra nonsense. So I just use my hand and rinse it under the sink. I mean, that's the easiest thing. This is where I guess I am introducing a little tap water, but it's not significant enough. Again, the number 1 ingredient is the sourdough starter. That's why I think people name their starter, because it's some kind of anthropomorphication of some yeasty thing, and you're basically going to make all these yeast, feed them, and then bake them in the oven. And then besides that, distilled water is important. You do need the salt. It does add flavor. The 11 grams of salt is important. It does add the flavor. And there it is. That's after 3 folds. So basically what I've done is a shaggy mix, wait 30 minutes, fold 1, wait 30 minutes, fold 3. This is fold number 4. So it's not that complicated. Have I done this with 3 sets of folding? 100%. Have I forgotten and did 5? 100%. 6 maybe? So that's the cool thing, is there's 30 minutes between each of these folds, so you can go, play the drums, you can go do a load of laundry, or at least, load the laundry. You can do the dishes, blah, 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 blah. You can go take your dog for a walk. Just be sure to wash your hands when you get back. All these different things are possible between all these different folds, and I think people should do it. Kind of breaks up the process. Okay, so there's, you need this thing. Okay. Just buy this darn thing, this metal piece. That it is key. Without it, you're really not going to make decent bread. That metal slopper, whatever it's called. Get a fancy one, or find one on Craigslist for free or someplace online. Okay, and then there are 2 loaves here. One I'm going to cold ferment for a whole day. The other one I'm going to make right away. All right, so I'm just scraping it out of this little plastic sucker and putting it on the cutting board. You can use your tabletop as long as it's clean. I mean, my cutting board, I put so much nonsense on there and bleach it and clean it. Okay, so I'm stretching this dough out into a basic square shape. And a square is important. And you'll see people on the YouTube videos doing the same thing much better than I'm doing here. I'm just sort of slapping it out there, stretching it out. And essentially that's all these folding steps are we're recombining the yeast that are in the dough, and we are making sure that those yeast have a chance to mix with the flour, which has the proteins in it, to make gluten. And you don't need to get into the science of that. There are people that use microscopes and all this fun stuff and get into the science of that. And if you want to, go be my guest, and I'm sure you could see, if you were really, you could take samples of this and go nuts. Okay, I'm going to fold each corner in to the center, and when you do that, of course, it basically makes yet another square. And look how clean and neat I am. So it's such a clean process, but basically it's the same idea. We're taking each corner, shoving it in the center. It's kind of fun. I mean, when you get your first loaf and you're like, this is what making bread is, and you'll be like, oh yeah, this is it. Okay, and then basically the last part is I form it into kind of like a spheroid, and it's bread. Okay, it's like deep frying food. If you take food and you deep fry it, basically people will go, oh, that's good, that's good. Same thing with bread. Okay, it's dough. And if the dough has good sourdough starter in it and high quality flour or decent quality flour, the King Arthur you can get cheap at Costco. and buy yourself a slice of pizza and a bottle of water and a hot dog while you're at it. Okay, so throw that onto the parchment paper, and you notice I've crumpled up the parchment paper because it likes to curl into a wonderful curled shape. And there's my messy cutting board. Okay, and this is the oven, whatever oven you have. Some people do wood-fired ovens. You're going to throw that cast iron sucker in there. You can get those things. This cast iron thing, actually, I got somewhere cheap online, and then the handle exploded. So I had to get the handle. So I just drop it in there, and then don't mess with it too much. Don't worry if the paper is hanging off the edges. It will get a little burned and crispy, but who cares? And I pop that in there, and I'm going to do 30 minutes for 450 degrees, and then covered. Make sure it's covered. So 30 minutes for 450 degrees covered, and then that should do it. And there it is. It's coming down to the final seconds. My oven gives me a little 1 minute warning, which is nice. And then we'll pull this off, take the cover off. Some people, I could probably flip it. My oven has a hot spot in the back. 15 minutes now at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So we do this, and then convection bake. I don't know if it makes a difference what temperature, convection, non-convection. And look, I'm not even entering the thing correct. I put it in for 15 degrees. And then the other thing is that, what is it? You definitely could use some spray. Some people spray in the oven, some water, do all these kind of things, you know, whatever. If you want to get fancy, if you want to do fancy scoring and all these different things, you can be my guest. But basically, this is the gist of it: is you know, put it in for 450 degrees for 30 minutes, 400 degrees uncovered for 15 minutes, and then we pull it out, and then here it is. As you can see, the back of my neck. This is the oven, and of course, my camera loves to not focus on what's. I'm telling the camera, focus. There it is. Focus on the bread. Good job. And there it is. And you can see even my scoring job. You know, it's a little long. It's a little, you know, ovular or oval or whatever it is. I don't even know if that's a word, ovular. Okay, so yeah, why the camera staring at the oven? I don't know. I'm putting in the second loaf. That makes sense. All right, the second loaf, and pop that one in, and we'll see what happens to that sucker. But basically, that's it. So that is the same recipe, and it tends to make a reliable loaf of bread, which is kind of what this whole thing is about. And always use Kerrygold butter. Don't use that other kind of nonsense. You spend all this time, you might as well use good quality butter. Thanks.